Creativity friends, it's Rick. I'm back for another video with Pixi Dust Designs. Today we're going to be using the scroll, what's this called? Vintage scroll die set. We're going to use the Magic World pattern paper. And then I pulled in the Potions Wizard mug set so I could use the You Put a Spell on Me stamp set on the scroll. All right, so I've got my card base. It's just a standard top folding card base. I cut a piece of that pattern paper. I just cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to add this to the card base first. So I'm going to add that. And then I want to add a little bit of inking to our scroll pieces as well. Let me move my little feather and stuff out of the way. I've pulled in a couple colors of just some distress inks. I'm going to use tea dye around the edge of our little scroll right here. So I'm just taking a sponge dauber and going right around those edges to give them a little bit of color. Antique linen would have been nice too, but I decided to go with this instead. So I'm just going to ink around those edges. Just like so. And then for my little other parts of our little scrolls, I'm going to come in with some walnut stain and come around the edge of that. So we'll add some around here, around that edge. Then we've got our two little pieces. We're going to add some around that as well. Just to add a little bit of depth to our die cuts. All right, for our smaller pieces, our little ink well, I'm going to add just a little color. I'm going to pull in a scrap piece of cardstock. I'm going to add just a little bit of shading to it. I'm going to use some forest moss and just add a little color there on one side. And for our feather, I'm going to add just a little ripe persimmon onto it. And I'm going to just come down from the top and kind of blend that down a little to give it a little bit of color. A little bit more maybe. All right, now we're going to layer up our little pieces here. We've got our pieces of our scroll. So we're going to layer these first. And we've got our little layering piece up at the top here. So I'll just add a little bit of liquid glue up there. I will add that into our scroll. And then I've got my layering piece at the bottom. So I will add liquid glue to that, and we will line that up with our scroll at the bottom. And I'm going to do all this before I stamp that sentiment on there. So we've got this one. So that way these can be drying while we work on our other little parts and pieces. We've got our little inkwell. We've got our feather, and when we have two layering pieces for the inside part of the inkwell, or outside part. And there is a little die cut edge right there that you can slide your feather in. So we've got our first layer of our inkwell. And then we've got our little second layer. It's going to go right there. And then we've got our top layer. Just going to line everything up together. Make sure everything's nice and lined up. And then you have your, where you can slide your feather in if you lined everything up correctly. You can just slide it in that little hole and line it up. But I'm not going to use it that way. I'm going to have it just sitting on the side of our inkwell. I don't want it inside of it. So ours is going to be just purely decorative. I'm going to go ahead and add my little highlight to my little feather and let that dry, because before I add this to my scroll area, I'm going to add just a little bit of Stardust Stickles to one side of our feather and use my finger to kind of blend it over. I want it to look like a phoenix feather. So it's going to be a little magical and glittery. I will set this over here to the dry along with our little inkwell. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. All right, so I'm just going to line my scroll into my Misty with this corner poke up against the edge. I'm going to take that. I put a spell on you, or you put a spell on me sentiment from the Potions Wizard stamp set, or die set. We're going to add this in, and almost all of our sentiment stamps will fit, and the sentiment dies will fit inside of our scroll. I'm going to stamp this in VersaFine Fallen Leaves ink, because I don't want to do black, but this is a nice dark brown that will look more aged than the black. So there's that. I'm going to move that to the side. All right, I went ahead and added some thin foam tape behind our scroll. So I'm going to peel those backings off, and if I can get it off. I'm going to add some liquid glue onto our foam adhesive so that I can get this wiggled around into place really well. Turn that up. We're going to put on our scroll, just like so. And then I'm going to come around the edge of our little scroll here. And add some Stardust Stickles to the edge of it. Same thing with the top. So it looks nice and magical. Do some on this side, and then when that dries, I'll add some highlights as well. Just taking my finger and going around. All right, I'm going to come in with my Posca paint marker, and I'm going to add a few little white highlights to our scroll. I'm going to pick that side. We'll add some over here. Coming up our other side. And we'll kind of one coming right across that top there. Maybe one right over there. And then I will do the same thing to our little inkwell. I'm going to add one more right there. So I'm going to take and add our little inkwell to our card. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue right there. And I'm going to have the ink right here. And then we will take and add a little bit of foam strip. I'm going to add a foam strip behind our feather to pop it up. I can add my little feather right there. All right, my friends, here is a finished look at our little You Put a Spell on Me scroll card using products from Pixi Dust Designs. It's a closer look at the card. If you need any of the supplies that I used today, you'll find them all linked and listed in the video description below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.